tātou katoa. Yes, so I'm from Aotearoa. March the 15th is actually today the 4th anniversary of the Christchurch mosque attack, in which 51 people lost their lives, many more were injured, families were torn apart. So I actually want to begin, if you don't mind, by asking if we might pause to remember not only these families and this community, but others that we know who are torn apart by random acts of violence, and yet, of course, in this case, it was also of religious hate. E te atua, whakarongo mai rā ki a mātou. O God, hear us and attend to the cries of your people. I want to acknowledge that I stand on Kaurna country and pay my respects to elders past and present. In Aotearoa, we are a small country near the bottom of the world, and yet in recent weeks we have experienced for ourselves the kind of fury that nature can bring. A small taste, I suppose, of what our Pacific neighbours experience regularly. For us, there was a massive rain dump on the 27th of January, 28 centimetres of rain in less than 24 hours in Auckland. Another one of 21 centimetres a few days later. 2 weeks later, we had a cyclone pour out of the Pacific, and just 2 or 3 days later, a 6.1 earthquake. It was the perfect storm, I guess you could say, but devastating. I have friends who have lost their homes in West Auckland. I have colleagues who are now in the business of accompanying people through the next steps in their journey of trauma as they try to pick up their lives, having lost everything. On the east coast of New Zealand, our horticulture industry has been devastated, as well as in Northland too, and families who have been struggling with rising food prices now find that many of the supermarket shelves are empty of fresh goods and produce. So this is the situation in Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'm conscious as I speak that Cyclone Freddy is tearing through Madagascar, Mozambique and Malawi, leaving devastation in its wake. Of course, we're not the only communities who suffer, but sometimes when we say that, we can say our suffering is not as bad as your suffering, and yet we still suffer. And I have a good friend, a Maori leader who leads trauma work across intergenerational violence, who currently, her name is Faye, is being called in to guide people to understand the impact of trauma for them. Because it's all relative, isn't it? No matter how large a disaster, how large suffering might be happening for communities, for nations, there are individuals whose lives are devastated, whose lives are torn apart, whose lives need rebuilding. And so I guess we've been mindful tonight of war and suffering on a countrywide, on global scale. Maybe the little lesson from Aotearoa, New Zealand is that it impacts individuals, and tonight we remember individuals who are suffering who have to walk the next weeks and months and years and decades of this and its impact for them and for their whānau, for their families. Our land, as you fly over it, now has scars all over it. So she is suffering too. Many landslides that came because of rain and flooding. Yes, lives were lost. Our land is deeply scarred. So I invite you to pray with me. Ka enoi tātou. Let's pray. E tō mātua matua I te rangi, our great parent in heaven. We pray for the whenua, the land, and for tangata, people, who continue to suffer from the impact of rainstorms, flooding and cyclones in Aotearoa, New Zealand and across our world. May they be given comfort, strength, resilience, the resources that they need as they navigate their way forward. We pray for the well-being of those who offer emergency aid and long-term support to those affected. Thank you for their expertise, their generosity, their love, and their care. May their bodies be kept safe and their hearts and minds know deep calm and peace as they work to protect and to nurture others. For decision makers, we pray for wisdom and compassion. E te ariki whakarongo mai rā kia mātou. Lord, hear our prayer. Kia mea tia tau e pai ai ki runga I te whenua, ki rite anō ki tō te rangi. May your good will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Ake, ake, ake. Amen.